I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
All right, welcome to the next episode of the Root Zone podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Stout. We are here today in the shop. Couple housekeeping notes. These are not consistently coming out like I thought they were going to every 2 weeks. But we were here. We were busy here at Stout Lawn Care. I think I said that on the last podcast, but I'll say it again. My next guest will get this one aired, hopefully before I fly to Atlanta to see my cousin play softball here on Friday. So hopefully this should be out in the next couple days. It doesn't take me long to edit them and get them out since I'm not a professional podcaster. But I'm excited. We're here with Albert Geniviva.
That's a tough one.
I met Albert. This is a good story. We'll get to know Albert in a second, but I want to get this off my chest because my wife reminded me of it this morning. She's like, "Oh, you're still in contact with the guy Al?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "Wasn't he like a cold call stop in guy?" And I'm like, "I think so. I don't remember how we like specifically met right in the beginning." And she's like, "Yeah, he definitely like called you or did something." What was it?
So doing a lot of cold calling. You look up business addresses, and I think I actually showed up to your house because whatever address I found online was your home, and so I sent an email or I called, and you were one of the few people that actually got right back to me, and we set up a meeting after that. So it was great. Appreciate that.
I thought that was funny. My wife's in sales also, so she was like, that never happens.
Very rare.
So I thought, I don't know what. And usually, to be honest with everybody in the listening audience, I usually don't answer those emails. I don't know what it was. Maybe, I don't know, handsome guy, had some new products. Caught me on a good day, exactly. Yeah. Well, anyway, Albert is here. He is a representative from HRC Outdoors. Is that correct? Like
Aspen Outdoors.
Aspen
We've
Outdoors.
gone through a few name changes, but
okay.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. I think I've gotten 3 different names on the invoices over the last 2 years. So
we've gone through a few through some growth in our company, and we got bought out a couple years ago. We were a small, just handful of independent contractors in the past, and a company called Aspen came in and bought us out and had a bunch of regional shops. We all had took the business names from each of our different businesses they purchased, and we were the Hodges Rash Company before, so it made sense to be HRC Outdoors. We had Florida branch, Great Lakes branch. So it just, with all of those branches, it got easier just to bring us all under one name. So Aspen Outdoors is what they said.
Aspen Outdoors. Mm-hmm. So Al, we met and we kind of hit it off right away because I think the conversation really got started, and then I wanna break into this. Well, actually, let's hold off first. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
You have a lovely wife and a not newborn anymore, pretty.
Yeah. My wife Marissa and we live in Kennett Square. So we moved she's from this area originally, but I'm from Pittsburgh. We moved out here about 6 years ago.
Okay.
She works for Nemours in Wilmington, Delaware. So it made sense to be close to that. And we have two great kids. Arlo is our 2-year-old. He's a handful right now, as you can imagine, and Addison was just born 3 months ago. So
that's what
we're under the gun right now. It's takes every ounce of energy we can, and not much sleep, but it's been great.
Yeah, it's always rewarding. Like my kids are 6 and 4 now, and we look back and me and my wife wanted to have another one. And then now dealing with our daughter, Sammy, at a 4-year-old, we're like, we made the right decision.
Exactly.
But you always think back, like those nights where you're like, oh, man, I got like 3 hours of sleep. Could I do that again? And I don't know. It's rough when you're going through it.
No, definitely. We were fortunate. I shouldn't say fortunate, but our Arlo, our older one, he was a terrible sleeper up till about 18 months old. So we kind of went into the second one just being primed for getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. Yeah. So this one doesn't hurt as bad. But it's been great. We kind of have the mentality that it's not going to last forever, and we'll get through this period and just savor the moments while they're here and don't get sleep will come eventually.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then the fun stuff starts. My wife always yells at me. She's like, "Stop making them grow up so fast." I'm like, "Yeah, but the fun, like Jack's really into baseball now, so like,
Of course.
and I don't want to be. We've talked about this on the podcast. These like youth sports organizations that are run like a major league baseball program now, but I find myself going into like his practices, his like batting practices, and like standing there like a obsessed dad, like, "Hey,
Every
Jack,
swing.
squash the bug, like turn your, you know what I mean, elbow up,
Oh, yeah.
But so all the fun stuff does come. But anyway, Al, where'd you go to college?
So I went quite a few colleges. Actually,
Okay.
I started out as an accounting major. I hated it. I've always worked on golf courses from the time I was 13 years old.
Okay.
I ended up went to Pitt first for accounting, then I transferred to Penn State and did their 4-year turf grass program.
Nice.
And while I was there, I worked at Oakmont Country Club in Pittsburgh, spent about 5 years there. That's a grind. That was a, top 5 club in the country.
Yeah.
You're putting 80, 100 hours a week in.
Yeah.
Hate to say this, but it almost kind of pushed me out of the industry. So I ended up going back to school.
Okay.
Got my MBA at night while I was an assistant superintendent at a golf course
Really?
close by. So yeah, I went and finished out the business degree, which I really don't use right now, unfortunately. Kind of hate to say that, but it's money well spent. I
Absolutely.
don't want to say I'm not using it, but
Yeah.
I'm not in a finance role or something somewhere where
Exactly.
So I ended up getting a superintendent job out of that assistant. The superintendent that was there, I was working for, ended up moving on. And fortunately, my Oakmont connections, they have roots into all the local clubs in Pittsburgh, and there are a handful of members there that really saw the value of having an Oakmont guy as their superintendent. And,
Really?
at an age I probably shouldn't have been a superintendent.
How old was this? This is my next question.
So I'd say I was 24.
What?
Yeah, so 25, somewhere in there. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was, and I'm
Well, listen,
stubborn.
all right,
So,
that's a lot to unpack. Okay, so first of all, for any golfers out there, Oakmont, Jesus Christ.
yeah.
I mean, they play majors there, right?
Yep. And most
Multiple,
U.S.
right?
Opens of any course in the country, I believe.
Wow.
They have one next year. The U.S.
Wow.
Opens there in 25.
So that grind, you're out of college, you graduate Penn State, you go to Oakmont. Did you have a hookup there, or did you apply as a raker?
Honestly, yeah, I applied as
As a sand bunker guy?
Yeah, no, when I went to Pitt for my freshman year, I was living in Pittsburgh, and I needed a summer job. I wasn't going back to Delmar Golf Course in rural western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I looked at local golf courses. That's all I knew. I just need a summer job. I'm not into this kind of accounting internship quite yet. So I got a job at Oakmont. I was just, he was happy to have me because I had golf course experience.
Yeah.
They just were
You're
looking for
familiar with the
laborers.
equipment.
Exactly.
He could send you on something like, hey, go cut the 10th green. It needs to be fixed or something like that. They could do it.
Exactly.
At 18, 19 years old, right?
At 18. So I had never even mowed greens at the golf course I worked at as a kid. That was like the premier job to get. And my first day on the job, they said, "Oh, you're mowing greens," and I thought, "Oh my goodness!" The first foot I stepped on the 18th green there.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that it was real. I was
Yeah.
like, "This isn't a putting green. This can't be actual grass that I'm walking on." And it just went from there. That kind of taught me that there was a career in this. I had just known a mom and pop public course. I didn't really know you could make money and have a full professional career in golf, and it just sparked from there. I went back the following year, ended up, like I said, transferred to Penn State, and just really fell in love with the industry.
Wow. And then, okay, so Penn State, back to Oakmont. So how old are you now?
33.
33.
Yeah.
So we're missing 8 years. So after you went, how long did you stay in that role? What was the name of that club?
Indiana Country Club.
Okay.
So I was there for, I'd say, a little less than a year as an assistant.
Okay.
And that's when I ended up getting promoted to superintendent. It was just shy of 4 years I was there as a superintendent.
Okay.
Just kind of convenient. My wife it's Indiana, Pennsylvania, so IUP. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yep,
but
definitely.
she was doing her grad school there. So
Okay.
that's kind of why I moved to Indiana and did the MBA program there. And so it was really nice. We were both there in the same town, finally getting some money in my pocket.
Absolutely. I'm sure, was it still 80, 100 hours a week as the superintendent, or was it a little bit different of a gig?
No. So that's what I find. A lot of people that leave big clubs like that, you learn a ton, and you learn a ton what not to do. And I saw the burnout with a lot of people. I came into a role where the superintendent there had a great schedule. He worked his 40 hours a week, give or take.
Yeah.
His guys worked about that, 40 to 44, whatever it was. They wanted some overtime on the weekends, and everyone was happy.
Yeah.
You didn't have much turnover. Same guys were there for 10, 15 years, and that was perfect for me.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
But see, I guess Oakmont, I guess I'm going to try to compare this to lawn care a little bit. Oakmont is True Green, right? They got enough money to burn.
Sure.
They're just churning and burning.
Yeah,
but
50, 60
they
guys.
obviously want high quality, but they need so many guys.
Yeah.
At these smaller clubs, you don't need as many guys. The schedules become a lot more flexible.
Absolutely.
A lot more adjustable, things like that. And that's kind of where I like living in the stout lawn care world. Is I like where we're at now with our 5 guys, maybe get to 8, 8 guy girls, whatever it may be. But I thought that was different. It was funny that because I expected you to say, no, I was there, doing my MBA, working 60 hours a week, still trying to have a life outside of work. But
and
that wasn't it.
When my wife listens to this, she'll say, you still work 50, 60 hours a week. Because, there were times, I lived on the golf course for a good chunk of that. They had a house there that it was a great gig. They gave me a free place to live. And
listen, I'm going to stop you right there and say you gave up your dream, the quintessential lawn care dream job for all our lawn care guys, like to be a superintendent.
It comes with a lot of stress. I'll say that, especially living on the golf course. I'd have members, it was right off the driving range. They'd come up and knock on the door and say, hey, have you thought about doing this? Or
no. Did you see the Pythium Blythe that is exploding on the third green?
Exactly. Well, hopefully never had any of that, thankfully. But simple things like 6 o'clock at night, you have an irrigation break. Whatever you're doing with your family, it's a blowout. You got to run out and do it. There are a lot of things that keep you up at night. And, I don't care what level you're at superintendent, there's always going to be your mind is always on. There's no I'm clocking out, walking home.
100%.
It's,
especially living on the golf course too. Mm-hmm. So that probably was a rift with you and your wife.
A little bit. Yeah. And,
not a rift, but I'm sure that gets old.
It does.
What I'm saying.
Very much so. And, I didn't have really any turf educated guys there. So I was on constantly, whether I was there or not. I mean, there were plenty of times we were on vacation or in New Jersey with her family where I'm getting a call, hey, what's going on here? And, I'm walking away from the family and dealing with this issue. So it was stressful. I ultimately, the way I got into sales was one of my vendors was the company I work for now. He's one of my coworkers now. He said, have you ever, I know your wife's moving out for a job in Delaware. Have you ever thought of getting into sales? We have this whole eastern half of the state that we don't have any representation for. And I thought, I think about that all the time. At this point, it was middle of the summer, and I'm stressed out. I'm in the future going to be looking for a job because I'm not going to live a marriage 5 hours apart. So the timing couldn't have worked out better. And I was honestly interviewing, I won't say the club name or anything, but they had reached out to me in New Jersey looking for a superintendent. And so I had those two options there. Yeah. And I was, we were just married in 2018. That was my last year as a superintendent. And, it was definitely stressful, the amount of hours I was putting in. It was the right move at the time. And it was a jump. We didn't have kids, didn't have a house, starting from scratch with no accounts. You really, had to make everything. I had to just go out and start from scratch on
Now, we try to talk outside of business a little bit on this, because I think we talk a lot about, small businesses and how they succeed. I guess, you making that step was very similar to when I made the step from my larger company to here now. I'm sure your wife had to have been a conversation, had to have supported you in this because you're, like you said, you're going into sales blind. Mm-hmm. You got no contacts. You're kind of reaching out. I'm sure you had some in the industry to get you going a little bit, but that's a bold move to go from a pretty stable job, getting job offers, you know.
Sure. And honestly, I look back to this moment. I was riding with another rep to a golf event when I was a superintendent, one of the guys I used frequently, and his phone rang about 6 times on the way there, and he got 6 sales on the way to this golf event. And I thought, man, what a life. You're just sitting, driving around, taking orders, going to play golf. Like, sales is great.
Yeah.
And I had that perception of sales, and a lot of people do. They
Yeah.
think, that you're just riding around making money all day.
Yeah.
And so I got into that with that mentality, thinking this is going to be great. I'll get out there, and not having a book of business and really starting from scratch, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to a lot of guys that are getting into it. You gotta get out there and pound the pavement.
Yeah, it's
and
guerrilla marketing
and-
at its finest. You gotta like we do signs and knock, door knocking and things like that. It's very similar in your industry too. Is that you got to get out there.
Yeah, and I mean, how many guys roughly do you think call on you here?
Yeah, who knows?
And that's just in the lawn care market.
Yeah.
In Philly, there's probably 20 to 25 solid vendors out here. So you have to break in. You got to get people to trust you before they start buying from you. So it was definitely a leap. And if I were to do it now, I don't think I would have the guts to do it, because
you got a lot more riding on
exactly a kids, a house, things
Yeah.
like that. And at that point, we were just kind of renting an apartment.
Yeah, I did it
and
when I
nothing.
had a house and had 2 kids, and I was like, I'm doing this. My
Yeah,
wife was
that's-
like, you're nuts. I said, I know.
Good for you. It's a bold move, but hey. It's
So
worked out.
that kind of leads me to my next question: is how we met is obviously I'm not a superintendent. I don't run a golf course. How did you jump into? I think we talked about this. I think your organization, Aspen, wanted to just get into the lawn care market. They saw an opportunity. We'll get to that question real quick. When you were superintendent, obviously you were in charge of all the programs.
Sure.
Because I want to make sure that this is where I'm going with this question is now that you've switched, right? Now that you sold to primarily golf courses for how long? So from 2018 to what?
18 to January of 22. Strictly golf courses.
Strictly golf.
Sports fields, like
And that's the
professional
majority
sports.
of your business, your book of business now.
Yeah.
Yep. So when you jumped into lawn care, you saw an opportunity. We all know how it works. Let's just go for it. Let's see how it happens. What was your thought process? Did you go into it blind? Did you do a little research on lawn care? What did these guys need? Did you go to any events, lawn care events? Like, how did you jump into lawn care, and how has it gone since?
It was really, I had to familiarize myself with a lot of, it's completely different. Golf courses, they're spraying their pre-emergence and maybe a 3-way, maybe kill some crabgrass in the summer with some quinclorac, something like that. But really I had to brush up on a lot of my herbicide knowledge, because, that's your guys' bread and butter. And
Well, sorry to interrupt again.
Not bread and
People
butter.
people tell me to interrupt. I say interrupt too much. I don't care what the people say. I guess you just made me think of something. Well, the golf course, you guys really don't have weed pressure if it's a well-maintained course.
Exactly. It should be if you get your mom and pops that don't really treat, and you're going to have those weed issues.
Yeah.
But any kind of club that's regularly using herbicides, the pressure
First
is,
couple years, you take over a club, you should be able to eradicate most of the crabgrass within 2
Sure.
years.
Yeah, you're maybe doing a broadleaf spray with your pre-emergent going out in roughs, or it's just not a ton. We don't really move a lot of herbicides to golf courses unless it's your pre-emergence.
Gotcha. All right, so go ahead. So you're jumping into lawn care now.
Yeah, and at first I didn't really understand the difference between. I knew there were guys, the LCOs and the landscapers, and I'm spending a lot of my time calling on every landscaping company in the world, and I'm asking what they use, and they're like, we mainly do hardscapes and the occasional fertilizer application if we're doing a
big
seeding some area that we. So I kind of had to shift my focus back to the LCOs, you guys that are doing a lot of applications, granular fertilizers, spraying, and I see this a lot in Philadelphia. We mentioned how many vendors there are, and there's a few big ones that do both really well. They do golf, they do lawn care. They're set up with the infrastructure to handle all of that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the smaller, and I'll consider ourselves a smaller vendor. We do one really well. You have, some that do lawn care incredibly well, and they're set up, they've got the business, and we're all trying to do everything and handle both markets.
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's the same thing as when I came into golf. You really have to knock on doors. You got to get people to trust you. It's really a different buying mentality as well. I mean, you have golf courses that are spending other people's money. It's the club. All the members have put their money in, and they have a budget every year. It's relatively the same, and they know what they're buying. Get into the lawn care market, and you're like yourself. You're dealing with people. At the end of the day, the money they spend on their product determines how much is coming back into your pocket. So there's a little bit of both. You're working a lot on price, and you're also working on the trust consultant factor.
Yeah.
Where golf is almost strictly the consultant factor.
It really so when you're selling to a golf course, you're really just going up there like, hey, with my experience, this fungicide will work very well. This timing on this product will work very well. How have you been able? I know in Stout Lawn Care and some of the products we buy from Aspen now, some of our BioStim, some things like that, I know they are getting more traction in the golf market. And I think, I guess my question is, am I thinking that in reverse? Like, I think that maybe the golf market has already been putting out these BioStims, Humic, Volvic, you name it, iron, like all this stuff years ago. Have you been, in 2018, were you selling Humic products to, or BioStims to these golf courses?
Yeah, I mean, they've been around. The Florentine line that we sell has been around for over 30 years. I know my boss, he was one of the original distributors, and his biggest barrier to entry was people didn't have sprayers in the early 90s. People were still using granular fertilizers, granular fungicides for everything. So he's trying to sell them a liquid, and it's, hey, I don't even have a sprayer to put it out, so sorry. So they've been around for a long time. Florentine's been doing this for a long time. The biostimulants really, in the golf world, we're not farmers. We're not looking for yield.
Yeah.
We want, the fastest, healthiest surface without producing a lot of topical growth, because if you have topical growth, you're making a mess. Your greens are slow. So it really, it parallels into both markets, but, you want to put out the best surface with the healthiest grass and not create problems for yourself. So it's a lot of the biostimulants, I think, have been formulated and priced and packaged for golf because we're, smaller acreages. Your treatable area is a lot less than you're dealing with lawn care. But the more and more I've gotten into this, I've really found the value with a handful of products in lawn care, low use rates, and it's the same mentality. Yeah, you don't that customer doesn't want to be mowing their lawn 2 or 3 times a week.
100%. That's a perfect lead in. So when you talk golf, we talk in lawn care, how much nitrogen, NPK are you putting out a year? Like we're putting 2 pounds out. We're putting 2.5 pounds. This is what we put out. Mm-hmm. Is that how the golf course looks at it? They don't look at it like that, right? They're not. Are they trying to hit a certain level of nitrogen on everything, or are they, because they're so involved or fine-tuned in the course, it's really not about, because they can put nitrogen out whenever they want, right?
Sure.
If they want a little green up, they want growth, they can just spread it out. But I feel like for the golf course, it's more just a monitoring situation, and how can you make the turf healthy? So it's really not about feeding or top growth, right?
Right, and that's evolving. You see it more and more every year. I mean, you used to go off the university recommendations. Your greens were getting 4 to 5 pounds of nitrogen a year.
Yeah.
And we start to see more issues with that. You're forcing that plant to grow. You're robbing carbohydrates. Your roots are shrinking. You're growing a lot more. You're more susceptible to diseases like Pythium, things of that nature. And we're starting to see more and more people treat it on an as-needed basis. Leaner greens, leaner fairways, just feeding things foliarly when they need it, because you can control that.
Yeah.
You know that sprayer is going out every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. And if you're putting a granular, I'm not I don't want to speak poorly on granular fertilizers, but
Absolutely,
a lot of
yeah.
times, you can't control the release. It might be a slow release that you're getting flushes when it's hot,
Yeah.
really rainy in a July stretch,
never
and
know.
that's the worst case scenario. You're just baling hay and making a mess. And
Yeah, you put it down, and then all of a sudden you get 2 rainy weeks,
Right.
and you can't keep up with it, and then all of it's gone.
exactly.
And then you got to do it again all over again because you robbed it all because you cut it off 4 times.
Exactly. And that's been my whole push, is to try to use a lot of the biostimulants to, like I mentioned earlier, just to maintain your plant health without pushing that growth. And
Yeah.
and if you need nitrogen, you need it, but
Yeah.
it should be on an as needed basis.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue because that's exactly how Stout Lawn and Pest thinks. Is last year was a perfect example of not needing very much nitrogen last year because it was so dry in the spring and nothing was growing.
Sure.
So we were putting out biostims really all late spring, all summer really, and that's what this year has been different though. We've had to feed the grass a little bit more because of how much rain we've gotten there. It's flushing all that thing. It's using it. People are mowing. I don't want to go into the spring with nothing, and it's been very wet around here. So the roots aren't going as deep as they should. So I'm hoping that with the weather it's been, I can feed the soil a little bit, but like you said, go right when summer starts hitting, man, it's just really about maintaining the plant and maintaining what can you put out without forcing growth.
Sure.
How can you increase root density? How can you all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's where the biostimulants really fit into our market. Is you're augmenting plant processes. You're helping produce, have the plant photosynthesize more, produce more carbohydrates, more amino acids, more proteins, and ultimately the plant's going to be healthier that way without having to use all of those reserves it has on its own. So.
Yeah, and combine a good program with good cultural practices. It's pretty easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you guys have a pretty healthy cultural practice program in the fall that you do, your aerations, overseedings, and
Yep, and teaching the customers how to mow. I mean, that's one advantage you have on the golf course is you don't have to worry about someone scalping some. Well, you probably have a couple situations, but there's a like that's the biggest, the hardest thing in our industry is teaching people how to mow, when to mow, why to mow.
Sure, because ultimately that affects your results at the end of the year.
100%. But anyway, so listen, we got a little bit more time here, but I want to jump into one more thing. Is I was following you on Instagram, Bert's Turf.
That's right.
Bert's _turf.
That's right.
If anybody wants to follow Bert's Turf, it's I love that name, by the way. You were at a country club where Jeffersonville?
Jeffersonville, yep.
So Jeffersonville is a local country club around here. Not country club, regular old club,
Yeah,
public.
Actually, municipal. One of the nicest municipal courses I've been on.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to get on. It's annoying. I try to get my golf league out there, but they don't have tee times before
you gotta
10
go on
o'clock. It's so annoying.
Like midnight a week before to get good tee times.
You can't. Even though you can't, don't give these people bad advice. I've been waiting at midnight trying to get a 7:30 tee time, and it's not available.
Yeah, good luck.
They blocked those off. But anyway, Jeffersonville, beautiful course. Donald Ross, right?
It is, yep.
Donald Ross course. But so I was following you on Instagram, and I saw you were at Jeffersonville Golf Course, which is half an hour, 20 minutes from me. And I was like, what is he doing there? I was like, and then I saw these freaking mowers. So I didn't know Aspen sold mowers, but now I know. I think it's pretty cool. So I had to text you. I think I called you. I was like, what are you doing at Jeffersonville? So please explain to everybody what you were doing at Jeffersonville and why this is so cool. And I think it's so cool. I want to whoever wants to jump on this and invest with me, we're gonna invest in this. But go ahead.
Yeah, so Husqvarna, very popular name in the hand tools, blowers, chainsaws. They've been around for a long time. Swedish company. They got into the autonomous mower game years and years ago, and they were mainly, I want to say, similar to your Roombas that you have in your house, vacuum cleaner. They're wire buried in the ground. You can go out there, kind of smaller, made for home lawns.
Little cookie cutter lawns, 8Ks.
Yeah. So we became a distributor for Husqvarna, selling a lot of their hand tools, blowers and stuff. And actually one of my coworkers has had one of these Husqvarna mowers in his yard for about 5 years now, and he loves the technology. And he just asked in one of our Zoom calls, said, "Hey, like, what would it take for us to sell the autonomous mowers?" Because they recently came out with a satellite technology that actually had pattern mowing and was going more towards the golf market, sports turf market.
Got you. So you don't have to bury the wires. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Exactly. Basically, you mount a satellite. It's all rotary-based mowing. You map out your areas, send the mower out, and it's going to complete each job that you have for it. Go back to the charger when it needs a charge, head back out, keep working where it left off. So, I mean, I'd say 9 out of the 10 conversations I have with my golf customers sometime gets to labor issues. Everyone has had, I don't know what that is, if it's competitive wages, new generation, having issues hiring people. I think that's in every industry. That's not just golf, but mowing rough takes a lot of time. If you have, 60, 80 acres worth of rough to mow, that sometimes it takes guys a whole week to get through the whole golf course. Yeah. So this has really found a niche in a lot of courses that have big bulk areas, or they want to take care of rough. It even actually goes down to fairway height around, a little less than ½ inch.
Really?
So there's no body to put on the mower. There's really very little upkeep, just cleaning, changing blades.
My brain instantly, instantly goes to how efficient you could be with your open areas, right? So where you're spending 8-9 man hours a week mowing this big field or in between holes or whatever, there's a huge area. You could set one of these mowers up and they can do it all week. And those guys that are actually good at mowing, instead of wasting their time doing that, they could be mowing around the greens. They could be mowing near the clubhouse. They could be doing all the crucial work to make the course look good, while these autonomous mowers are
they're doing their thing,
doing their work.
It's a funny thing. Every time I show up with a demo or an installation of these courses, I get the crew members saying, "Oh, you're coming to take my job," and I'm like, "No, I'm just." You're probably just making your job easier. You're probably gonna have to do a lot more. I mean, the list never gets smaller on a golf course. You always have the same things to do every week, and if you can allocate those employees to go do all of your detail work and spend more time on areas where you're deficient, that's the ultimate goal. And I mean, just for Jeffersonville as an example, we have 4 holes mapped out there. It mows all the rough on those holes: tee surrounds, green surrounds, bulk rough. And it does it every other day. So you never really see any growth. I mean, you're just taking off the tips every other day, Really? So it's always
about health. Talk about health for the lawn.
Sure.
I mean, you keep them, and I'm sure it's pretty easy to switch those blades out. I'm sure there's a warning system. Hey, it's ran for this many hours. Change the blades out.
Yeah, you got to kind of keep track of that. What your growth rate is, how much it's mowing.
Yeah.
It tends to be about an every 2-week operation. You just go in, pop a few screws out, put new blades on it, and on your way. So it takes away a lot of the maintenance. I mean, a lot of reel mowers take, you have your grinding your reels, changing the bed knife. You have all your engine issues where you're changing oil, things like that. So there's a lot less upkeep with these than your traditional mower. And like I said, you don't have to have the person operating it.
Yeah. Well, if you've listened this far, I appreciate it. Real quick, I've gotten a couple messages, one on Instagram, a couple on Facebook, about people actually listening to this podcast. Keep those coming, people. I'm looking for guests all the time. Like I said, we were a little busy here at Stout Lawn Care. I hope to record a bunch of these. I think I said that last time, so I'm going to try to stick to my word this time. I do have some guests lined up, so I'm going to try to record a couple of these consecutively, but just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Tick and Skeeter Deleter, Brian and Steph over there. I just talked to Brian 2 days ago. They are killing it over there. They added almost 100 and some customers doing all natural tick and skeeter, tick and flea control and bug control. So a quick message from them, and then we'll be right back with Albert to finish the conversation.
Hello, this is Brian and Stephanie, owners of Tick and Skeeter Deleter. Are you providing a tick and mosquito control service?
We formulated a product to target today's environmentally conscious market.
Tick and Skeeter Deleter is your ultimate 25B exempt pesticide.
This product controls on contact while acting as a repellent.
With these all-natural essential oils, you will leave behind an aroma even the neighbors will enjoy.
Elevate your business with Tick and Skeeter Deleter.
Use discount code RootZone for a 5% discount on product at yardcomfort.com. Thank you for listening to the Root Zone podcast.
All right, we are back with Al. So we talked about the mowers. I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool. I mean, the only thing probably kind of bothers me is like I want to see stripes in the grass.
Oddly enough, you do.
No way.
Yeah, no, I'll
They're little baby stripes. No, I want like
the big wide. Yeah,
because they look cool with the real mowers. You
Sure.
can get grass growing one way and the other. But anyway, I understand that would be Do you think the cost of golf is going to come down with these mowers? Probably not, right?
Probably not. The getting's
This
good
is
right
ridiculous.
now. Every golf, like we talked about with Jeffersonville, everyone's packed. I mean, record rounds every year for almost all of my customers. Waiting lists at country clubs.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been really good since 2020. That was one, shining, or silver lining that came out of COVID was people started playing golf more. So
Yeah,
I don't think that's going down.
Yeah, I don't
soon.
think so. It's tough, man. I run a golf league with 16 guys, and we used to play like the Muni courses. Jeffersonville was always a nicer one. Jeffersonville's a great course, but we used to play a lot of the Munis around here. They were $40, $45, maybe $50, $55. They don't exist anymore around here, at least around us. I mean, I talked to some other guys around the country. They're still golfing for $34 in a nice course. I don't know where those exist, but not here in the Northeast. So it's nuts. It's everything's $68. All the nice courses are $85, $90, $100 now.
Sure, especially on weekends.
We play on Sundays, so it's always weekend golf. But that's fun. So I want to jump back real quick into how have you've broken into the lawn care market. How's it going is it company wide? Everybody's trying to sell to lawn care now, so it's not just you doing this by yourself. It's everybody. Right. And how's it going for the company? Have you seen an opportunity and what, let's talk a little bit about what products you're pushing and what I use. Everybody out there, you can listen to this. I don't care what I'm
Sure.
I'm not shy.
No, it's going well. We're, just like I mentioned earlier, we're, kind of the new guys on the block, so really trying to break in and find our niche there. But it's we're doing a lot of granular fertilizers, a lot of herbicides. Getting more into the liquid fert. We're not really set up with a lot of the bulk stuff in terms of bulk liquids or anything like that yet, but. That's growing for sure.
Are you influencing some lawn care companies to maybe go to less nitrogen and start using these biostims and all this other stuff? Is that an opportunity you think, with your Florentine line?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a handful of lawn care companies, a few of my coworkers do as well, that are implementing Florentine into their programs, stuff like Renaissance, Maxiplex, really giving things, like we talked about earlier, just increasing plant health without forcing growth. So we're all low use rate products. They're clean. You open the jug, you pour it out. You're not seeing a bunch of sediment at the bottom. Florentine, I have a lot of faith in them. It's all manufactured, research. It's all in one building in Memphis, Tennessee. They do everything themselves, their own recipe, their science, their chemists, sales, marketing, warehousing. Can
we take a trip out there?
I can arrange that. That'd be nice. Fun. Yeah, we go periodically every time they have like a sales training or anything like that. We'll go down there. But I brought that up because a ton of liquid ferts are sent to bottling facilities, and you kind of give that company your recipe, send it out, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how a lot of bulk is produced. Yeah. But just in terms of like the quality control, the science that's in the jug, it's our own recipe that's going in there. I feel a lot more comfortable that that's kept in-house, and we're not just kind of shipping it off for someone else to make and slap a label on it. So like I said, it's been around for 30 years. They continue to make new products every year. I think we have over 70 at this point. So it's a lot to keep track of, but it's really driven from solving problems. Yeah. We find there's an issue on a golf course. They'll produce something that can help solve the problem.
Yeah. What besides the Maxiplex and the Renaissance, what other products have you seen translate to the lawn care market?
P48, that's one we've talked about a little bit. It's a 1048-8. It's a soluble starter fert.
By the way, I'm so excited to use that.
Yeah.
in the fall for my renovations.
Yeah, any kind of aeration overseeding. It's a liquid or a foliar or a soil product, but really we're just aiming at getting seed germinating, established, pushing some
What's
roots
the analysis on that again?
1048-8.
1048.
Yeah, it melts down really easily.
It does.
So I use it. I mean, hate to keep bringing this back to golf, but I use it a lot on tee boxes. This influx we've had in golf the past, 4 or 5 years, golf courses,
They're
their tees,
reseeding tee boxes like crazy.
they're
probably.
constantly beat up. They don't have enough teeing ground. So the quicker they can get seed established, germinated, move the tee markers back to that spot, the better.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of success with that, just, helping shorten that window of time. So another great part of this is we're mowing grass on a golf course that, we're trying to keep things alive with these products at 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. That's what these products are formulated for. The results are a heck of a lot better when you're mowing at 2.5, 3, 4 inches. There's a lot more plant material. So, the results are exponential when you're getting into the lawn care situation.
Yeah. So you got the P48, anything else? I thought there was didn't you have, what's the Ignite? No, it's not Ignite. I don't know what.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot in that catalog that we sell that is just never going to fit into the golf market. It's a, higher cost per case.
Into the lawn care market, you mean?
Yes, into the lawn care market. It's just it's not gonna work because it's formulated for an issue on a golf course that we don't see in home lawn. So it is a small offering in terms of that. But
What's
I think
the one that looks like a Gatorade bottle?
Protozin.
Yeah, that's the stuff I want to know. What is that?
Yeah, so that's an amino acid and carbohydrate product. It's really it's aimed at giving energy to the plant.
Okay.
It's they say liquid sunshine. I'm doing air quotes that no one can see, but really, for low light times of year when you have a lot of shade or your sun angle is not great and the plant's not photosynthesizing as efficiently, the byproducts of photosynthesis, plants making carbohydrates and amino acids. If you can supplement that through Protozin, you're making up for the deficiencies in light.
So that'd be fun to put on my shady backyard then.
It would, yeah. You're not going to really see a huge color response out of it, but it would be just more the plant health benefits out of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the color response. I love that because we talk a lot in lawn care about tweaking things and what are you putting out, and I want this. How much you're putting this. Man, I think we overanalyze it too much. I think healthy grass is healthy grass. You can, showing a blade of grass that got this much product compared to this much product, there's very little difference most of the time.
Sure.
It's really about consistency and doing it the right way.
And I always stress test plots too. I know when you were doing some stuff on your lawn and Steve's lawn this spring, I wanted you to throw a piece of plywood down or something and just kind of compare throughout the year.
Piece of plywood. That's how I should have done it. You should have told me that 2 weeks ago. I never thought about that. That's a genius. Throw a piece of plywood, you get a perfect rectangle.
Yep. And you can see what it looks like if you didn't apply it, and how that test plot makes it through the year.
Shit. It's gonna take. I have to wait. Well, I can do some experiments in the fall, but I gotta wait a whole nother year to test this stuff out. I did do growth regulators, which in the golf market, obviously, way more use in the turf market, but I did it on this. I've done it on two commercial property and 2 residential turfs, mine and Steve, the co-owners. And I'll tell you what, that is some fantastic stuff.
It is. And
it works.
And
it
there's
works well.
I mean, that ties in.
People think you can just stop mowing. You just can mow every week, and you're, like you said, on these little mowers, you're only taking off like this tiny little top.
Sure.
And it just gets hardy.
Those are, to a degree, biostimulants as well. You're augmenting that plant process. You're providing things to slow growth, have a denser stand of grass. It honestly changes the leaf texture a little bit too. You should have a shorter, thicker leaf blade. I
think when it really kicked in, it almost felt like turf, like synthetic turf. Mm-hmm. It almost gets like this weird, like, I don't know, full feeling.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I don't think that's like almost a full scale. Like you're not putting that in every spray. You're probably on a, here and there basis where someone's requesting it. It's not as cost efficient to throw it out.
It's not. But think about it this way. What if I took out my fertilizer? What if I took out one of these biostimulants and I replaced it with a growth regulator for, a month and a half here, mid-spring, late spring? I think it would really have a high impact. I don't know if anybody's ever had the balls to spray a growth regulator on all their residential lawn care companies.
If it was someone, but probably the guys that are mowing as well. The guys that are doing both, they're like, all right, we need to stretch these mowing.
And that's what I'm doing it. I'm testing it on my house so I can offer it to my commercial clients. Say, hey, listen, if we spray this twice a year, you can save 60 man hours, 100 man hours just on not having to double mow or maybe skipping a week.
Sure. There is a limiting factor. I mean, there's only so long that's staying in the plant. So, if you do it twice a year, those are pretty much going to be your 2 windows where you're going to have, you'll have a big flush once the plant runs through all of that growth regulator.
Yeah, but see, I think if you time it right, if you do it in our area, spring, and then when end of June, July hits, it's not growing anyway.
Sure. Things
you
are
could
slowing
almost,
down.
hopefully, control it unless you get a ton of rain. Then you got to apply it again.
Yeah, like your approach.
How often were golf courses applying that?
Every spray, it seems. Yeah, I mean,
really?
The springtime when things are still waking up, you see guys a little hesitant to throw out a lot, but that seems to be almost a, an every spray type of deal.
And that mixes well with a lot of everything?
Yeah.
You've never had any problems
No.
with a herbicide or a pre-emergent or anything like that?
Nope. No, growth regulator is pretty safe. Yeah, you don't want to be... You never want to be spraying anything when it's 90 degrees and sunny at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Given.
But most of these guys are going out 5:30 in the morning, getting their spray done by 8:30, 9. So, there's a ton of new ones on the market too. We've seen, Primo's or Trinexpec Ethyl is like one of the oldest and used for a long time. And you see similar classes like a new coming out. That seems to be a very popular option for guys.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting... it's fun to play with it a little bit. I try not to tweak any of my programs, but I like to experiment with other products to see where we can add a little value. We just got everybody's been hammering down the velocity trials here over the last couple weeks, and I've done it twice on my lawn. I didn't take any pictures, so don't expect any. I'm gonna have a YouTube page. I'm not gonna give you a full rundown of what it went through, but I think it worked. It looks like it. All my fescues, all my, the bluegrasses look great. They look fine. They dinged up a little bit after the first application, but I sprayed. I have a rock bed along my driveway that's totally covered in POA annua, and I've hammered it, and it's not there anymore.
Not happy.
It's not happy. And you can see, I had a septic system put in my front yard, and they used shitty grass. It had a bunch of POA triv in it, and you can see that L where they excavated the turf and where they had to do all the construction and all that to it. It is patchy. It is very patchy. And I was listening to the Turf Nutrition Management podcast. Somebody was saying they did it, and they actually had to go in, and I think I should probably do it too, and pretty much scalp the lawn to get all that dead material out, because it is laying flat, and it's I don't know if that's to be determined, right?
Sure.
We'll see in the fall. Usually the fall I don't get too much poatriv, pressure. I get a couple patches, but we'll see next spring. I might run it here in the fall, one more cycle every 2 times in 14 days to see if 2 applications spring, 2 applications in the fall. If I can eradicate it by 2025, great. Let's offer this as a program. But
and then you can, the expectations. So if you have a customer saying, hey, I want to get rid of this weed or this POA triv, you got to say, hey, this is not it's not going to be gone tomorrow.
That bottle will probably only be for my personal. And to sell that program would be tough, because it would, like you said, it would involve a lot. It would be very expensive. It would almost be a renovation type deal. And at that point, if you're doing that, you might as well just take some, we don't like to use the word, the all-encompassing killer. It's not, I don't like to talk about it when I don't need to.
Sure.
But at that point, you should just do a full renovation.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I'm going to mess a little bit with it in the fall with spot treating. not really spot treating. We got the flow zone, so I'm going to try to do like areas because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think spot treating the triv would work.
Could be a nice upsell here and there for
Yeah.
certain customers.
Yeah, certainly. I have a nice property down the road that's about 2 acres, and he's got like just a couple little patches by his house. That might be a good option there.
Sure.
But anyway, Al, if anyone has any questions about Florentine or Aspen Outdoors, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so email works well. It's my name, and I'm going to spell it out because it's a tough one. So it's albert.geniviva at aspenoutdoorsco.com. And so I cover most of eastern Pennsylvania, but Florentine really has no bounds. We're really just kind of bound to our golf market territories. So, that can go anywhere. We can ship products anywhere like that. So
Yep.
always happy to talk about that and the value in it for just about everybody.
Great. And like you said, you could ship this anywhere in the country. Do have a couple guys listening down south that I think could benefit from this. Your Bert's?
Yep, Bert's_turf.
That's always a good way.
Yeah, and
it's the way to get a hold of people now. Instagram
Yeah,
messages.
always open for a DM there, and
Yeah.
I do bomb that with a lot of product. I mean, I like to put out like I think Turf Trade does it. They do like a product highlight of the week that I saw.
Yeah.
And over the past couple of years, I see that, and I actually get a lot of value from that too. I think that's a nice little service. I don't know if they sell much product out of it, but
Yeah.
I started doing stuff like that. Maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, I'll throw something out there. Good product to be using this time of year.
Any added information you can give with these products is great for all of us. Hopefully you get a couple follows, Bert's_turf. Like you said, you throw those products out, take some more photos of these awesome golf courses that you're at. I mean,
course.
come on, man, get your Instagram page up. I only see like one post a week.
I
Come
know.
on.
I got to get better
You see
with
Stout
that.
Lawn Care, we're posting like 4 times a day.
I know, yeah. You guys are great with it. I mean, it's awesome to see all the lawns you're on, the results. It's great for marketing.
Great, man. That's all I really got. Anything you want to add, Bert?
No, I just appreciate you having me on here. This is great. I listened to the podcast and happy to be a guest.
It's not as stressful as you think, right?
No,
It's just a
I
quick
was nervous coming in
conversation.
today, but no, just having a nice conversation with you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Visit Tick and Skeeter Deleter. Talk to those guys, Brian and Steph, if you want to add some outdoor insect control to your program. But thanks again, Albert. I appreciate it. Everyone have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.